And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of Doing the Work, the first show on the Back Home Network covering IU women's basketball. Today is our 88th episode recorded on Sunday, December 3rd, 2023. And I'm your host, Kathy Amos. And today, joined with me is my co-host, Jeff Marlow. Today, we are going to break down your number 17 Indiana Hoosiers win, 72-34 win over the Stetson Hatters at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. That brings their record to 7-1. But as always, we will start off our show with our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And Jeff, for me, I'm actually going to go to before the game even started for my banner moment. And there were two things I think that really were really lovely to see today. And the first one is actually how they handed out all of these blue shirts to people coming in for the crowd. And the shirt said, "We stand with Yarden, we stand with Israel." And a lot of people in the crowd were wearing those shirts. And on top of it, not only that, to show their support of Yarden, Jeremy Gray, the in-stadium announcer, he also actually usually announces Mackenzie Holmes last in the starting lineup. And today he actually announced Yarden Garzon in that last spot. In addition to that, they were also wearing the red jerseys today instead of their normal white when they were at home. And that was actually in support of ALS for Coach Moren, who her mother passed away from ALS in 2014. So it's just really two nice ways to honor people in the program with Coach Moren and Yarden Garzon. So for me, that is our Hoosier Proud banner moment. And as always, our banner moment is brought to you by Home Field Apparel, presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network, who includes the Assembly Call and Crimson Cast. Home Field is constantly releasing new schools or updating their products for schools in their existing line. You are bound to find something for you or anyone in your life that just loves great collegiate gear. Right now, they have restocked the bomber jackets. So go out there and see if you have one that maybe, if you don't have an Indiana one, maybe you want that, or many other schools that they have. But not only do you get that quality apparel, you are supporting an Indiana-based business that has its roots in the Kelley School of Business. So go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. Again, that promo code is HOME23 for 15% off, and the website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. All right, Jeff. I don't think we have any real news headlines for today that are new from our last podcast. So let me go ahead and kick it right to you for your Marlow's musings. What's on your mind today?
Compared to where we were about 48 hours ago, 72 hours ago, Kathy, this is a much better feeling. I mean, it was an A. I'm not sure I graded out as an A, but it was definitely a B plus game. We'll talk about some of the things that will bring it down a little bit, but I thought the energy was way better from this game on today's game against Stetson. Now, and I thought the defense was pretty solid overall. Again, when we get to the notable numbers, we'll talk there, but I thought it was a good bounce back game after. And I think you also have to maybe look back on Thursday now with maybe there were just more distractions than we thought there were, other than just simply Mac going back home. Mac going back home. Maybe there was way more to that. And the kids kind of got wrapped up into it as well. But, either that or Maine's going to turn out to be a pretty good team as well. But again, a good game, get back here at home, and now they'll get ready for they got a Big Ten conference game coming up next week. So I was very pleased. I really liked what I saw from the team today overall.
Yeah, I have the same thoughts on that, Jeff. I mean, Stetson wasn't a high-scoring team to begin with. They are only averaging 55 points per game as it is. But, to hold a team to 34 points with the fourth quarter, especially only 5 points, and that was even with a lot of our bench players coming in. I know Stetson was bringing in their bench players at that time too, but still, I think the defense from almost tip-off until that very last buzzer really was on point today. This is some of the better defense I think that we've seen them play. And we'll talk again when we get to notable numbers about some of the shooting from Stetson. And, they were definitely struggling with our size. And I think that led to a lot of their low field goal percentage too. So, but we'll talk about that. But I think more in the pivotal or notable numbers. But first, maybe let's talk about some pivotal plays that we saw in today's game. And I'm not sure if there's a whole lot, but I have a couple. But why don't you go first? What do you have?
I'm going to go back into the first quarter, and I don't remember the exact time frame, but it was in about middle of the quarter, and we were playing okay, but we weren't putting the ball in the basket very well. I mean, we were up by 6 or 7 maybe at that point, but then I think it was Yarden, Chloe, and Sarah all basically hit threes back to back to back. And I thought that was a pivotal play because it finally felt like they got some cushion and we're getting away from them. And from that point, I also felt like it kind of broke their spirit just a little bit because I think Stetson was like, hey, we're hanging around here. It's almost, middle of the little bit latter part of the first quarter. We're still kind of hanging around 4 or 5 points down. And now boom, boom, boom. And next thing you knew, it ends up a 24-9 first quarter. So I thought that was a pivotal stretch.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that was about probably when we went on a 19-0 run there. I think that started in that first quarter and well into the second quarter. That second quarter in particular, I thought we played really well, but just opening it up that first quarter, 24-9, we outscored them. And it was just really, like you said, I think it deflated Stetson right out of the gate. Another one for me is actually kind of later in the game. Which was around the 2-minute mark in the third quarter. I just thought it was I don't know if it would be pivotal, but I just really liked the hustle from Lexi. She was down playing defense, and one of the Stetson players got the ball down on the block, and Lexi just came around her and just literally ripped the ball from the girl's hands, went down and drove it on the other end, and ended up getting, making her layup and getting fouled and making her free throw, putting us up there 24-53. And again, it was just one of those plays that I think was kind of indicative of the hustle that we had all game, especially on the defensive end. I really liked what I saw from Lexi today with her defense. And that was just one play I wrote down that I wanted to talk about just because I thought her play overall was pretty good today on the defensive end. But do you have any thoughts on maybe Lexi and how she was coming in off of the bench for us?
I thought she brought some decent energy. I thought there was a point there. I think I may have even put this in the Discord. There was a point there in that lineup where they were playing Chloe and Lexi together and maybe even Lene. There was a brief moment. I was like, I made the comment. I really liked that lineup. I thought it made us a little quicker, a little more ball handling. Again, obviously we're not going to see that lineup a ton on the floor, but I thought it was one. And you talk about Lexi, but I think you also look at somebody like Jules. I mean, either Jewel Amendola came off the bench. She didn't score, but she provided some solid defense. She provided some rebounding. So I thought, again, another example of, again, they don't always show up in the stat column, but some pivotal plays. I thought Jules, especially in her 15 minutes, really gave us some solid minutes.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, she got 4 rebounds in that 16 minutes too, a block and a steal, and only 1 foul. I thought that she did some really nice stuff. She's not contributing a whole lot, like you mentioned, offensively, but that's not what we need her to do. But I thought she, again, came in and had some nice energy off of the bench, and especially with her defensive rebounds. And a day where I felt like we were really struggling. If we're going to, find any flaw in today, it was their defensive rebounding. We let Stetson get, how many offensive rebounds did they end up? I know they had 11 15. In the first half, and they ended, in 11 just in the first half alone. So I thought our defensive rebounding really wasn't real strong today, but we had Jules come in and give us 4 of our rebounds there. So I thought that was really good from her. What other kind of pivotal plays do you have written down that you might want to talk about?
Again, it's hard to really pinpoint a lot of pivotal plays, but there was one, and I can't remember exactly where it was, whether it was late third quarter or it was early in the fourth quarter, but there was a shot taken by us, kind of long, off the back iron. It was a corner baseline shot. And Mac tracked it down about 18 feet out for a rebound and basically took it on the dribble, went into the lane and finished with the layup. So that, again, it wasn't necessarily pivotal, but it shows you that your senior leader, your All-American types, still going to lead by a little bit of example. Even though we were up big at that point, she was still hustling down a rebound. So again, I don't have a lot of pivotal plays here just because it ended up being such a wide margin. You don't really feel those pivotal plays. But I agree with you, and I think that's where we're going to get to when we get to the notable numbers. I think we'll definitely talk about the rebounding a little bit.
Yeah, I had that exact same play that you were talking about it late in that third quarter where Mac kind of went really strong after that offensive rebound. The last one I had written down was just early into the fourth quarter, about a minute and a half in. Again, Lexi had a block down on the defensive end. She blocked a 3-pointer, I believe it was. She got the ball down to Chloe Moore McNeil. And the reason I wrote this down is because I thought this was very indicative of Chloe's play today, where she could have just had a fairly easy bucket right there and go up for it, but instead she gave it to Mac, who got 2 instead. And Chloe led the team today in assists with 6 for the team, and I thought that was really nice of watching that from Chloe today. So that's the reason I wrote that play down. Again, not that it was necessarily pivotal, but I just thought it was meaningful because of Chloe sharing the ball again, and I think she's just really turning it on with those assist numbers.
I will do this. It wasn't pivotal today, but we came out in the second half, and I think we started 0 for 8 or 0 for 9, and 7 of them were threes. We were 0 for 7 from 3 in that stretch. And again, had a 21-point lead. Stetson had scored a bucket to make it 19, so we had a comfortable lead still. But in a tighter game, in a game where the other team's capable of making a bigger run, that would have been a pivotal stretch. But I also got a feeling in a different scenario with a different lead and a different team.
Mm-hmm.
I think Coach Moren maybe have taken a timeout to kind of get and get something set up, settled in. But I do want to point out, because we saw some of this in the Workaholic chat, that the third quarter. But even with that said, for as bad as we felt the third quarter was, we won the quarter 17-9.
Yeah. And it was mostly in that second half of the third quarter. So that first 5 minutes, I even noted down in that first 5 minutes, we were outscored 4-2. I mean, it was just not good basketball at all.
Not pretty.
No. And it just felt like our offense, we were throwing up shots, especially 3-pointers, way too quick. We weren't moving the ball. And I felt like that got adjusted at that media timeout. And you came out and you saw a lot better ball movement. And as a result, better production, end up scoring than 15 points in that last half of the quarter. So the first half of the third quarter was probably the worst stretch of basketball in that game. But luckily our defense was still on. We only allowed, Stetson to score 4 points in that stretch as well, but it was not fun watching it. That was for sure. So maybe a little bit lack of focus with a 20-something point lead, but not the best part of the game. So let's move on, Jeff, to notable numbers then, and talk about some statistics that we saw today. You want to go first?
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of take a couple here, Kathy. I'm going to focus again. We're always trying to keep this more limited to team numbers in this segment, but I'm going to go with 2 numbers here that kind of, to me, go hand in hand to how easily this game was won. IU led 44-10 in points in the paint, and 26-0 on fast break points, which to me is kind of where I'd like to see us get a little more. I know we're not going to win most games 26-0 in fast break points, but I liked it when we were playing with some pace today, and also trying to take advantage of our size inside and sometimes the points in the paint are coming off layups. They're coming off things that you're doing to, on the transition to get in there. So I thought those two kind of go hand in hand. Points in the paint and fast break points today, especially IU dominated those numbers. If you put them together, that's it's not fair to put them together, because like I said, sometimes it can be one and the other. So, but again, you huge advantage in those 2 numbers.
Yeah. Those are really great. 26-0 on fast break points. I like you had mentioned, I think we had better pace today. We were really pushing the ball from the tip off until that last buzzer, even with the, 30, almost a 30-point lead at that point, we were still pushing the ball. So it was good to see, and it showed up in the numbers today, like you mentioned. For me, I'm going to talk about turnovers. We forced 11 turnovers today. 16, and only had 11 ourselves. But the thing that I liked on it is not only did we force 16 turnovers, but we turned those into points as well. So 17 points, which I think probably also gets into those fast break points that you were talking about as well. So again, I just, turning that defense into offense today was something we love to see. And it was really on display today, I thought.
Yeah, and the one person for us who struggled handling the ball or turning it over today was Lexi. So for as much as well as we thought she played, she had 4 turnovers. Nobody else had, and then Lily had 2, and one of those was an on-moving screen. So really nobody was turning it over today. Everybody else had 1. So I thought that was a huge number. I'm going to go to the other one or another one here, and I'm going to focus on the defensive side of it. even against a team that wasn't very good, missing a couple. And they mentioned this. I don't know if you saw this at the beginning of the broadcast. They've got a couple players out with ACL injuries for the year. So this is explaining some of what we were talking about the other day, where you weren't sure why somebody was playing. And she was one of those that wasn't playing. And they got 2 people out of ACL. So they're going to struggle at times this year to score and stuff. But even then, these are Division I players, and we held them to 19% field goals. 13%, they were 3 for 24 on 3, so 13%. So the defense was there. I mean, they were getting the first part of the defensive job done. They were really forcing them into some tough shots and forcing them to miss a lot of shots. So I'm going to point that out here as a notable number.
Yeah, Jeff, I had those written down too. 13% from 3-point. They weren't good coming into the game. I think, what do we say? They are only shooting around 25% or so, somewhere in that neighborhood from 3 anyway, but 13% is really low. So, but not only that, we held everybody on their team, obviously, to single digits outside of their highest score with Jemiah Turner. But we still held her below her season average as well. She's averaging 13 points a game and held her to only 11 today. So, I just thought they had a really good defensive presence today, and it's showing up in the numbers today. How about any other team or any individual numbers, if you want to mention any of those here right now?
I'm going to go with this one, and to me, because it's just part of what we need to see more of. And overall, 10 players played 10 or more minutes. And nobody played more than 27 minutes, and that was Yarden. My number I'm going to go with here is a notable number. Mackenzie Holmes, 19 minutes in a game where we didn't obviously need her, but we've seen games like this in the past where Mackenzie was out there for 28, 29, 30 minutes. I love the fact that she basically played half the game.
Yeah, I do too. And, to Mackenzie on top of it, not only did she only play 19 minutes, but she was very effective, 7 of 9 from the field, 17 points. And we should officially note now she has taken first place of all-time field goals made. So she now leads all-time field goals made for the Indiana women's basketball program. So congratulations to her on that as well. So 17 points for her. But only 3 rebounds, which again, I think speaks again to that defensive rebounding. We don't typically see for our team where, offensively, we're putting a lot of people to the glass. They're more trying to get back on defense and whatever. But defensively, I just think that defensive rebounding, and it feels to me, we can talk about it more later on Wednesday when we do our other kind of overarching theme of the year podcast. But in this game, especially, I just think our defensive rebounding, again, was not there for us. And we ended up out rebounding them in total for the game with 38 for them and 46 for us. But again, we allowed 15 offensive rebounds for them. And I just thought that was more when we clearly had the more athletic team and the more size than them as well. So I was really surprised that Mac only had 3 rebounds in that game.
Yeah, part of that, I think, and I was watching it again, I wasn't happy with the way we were not rebounding, but also Stetson took some shots out of some, that sometimes when you're not expecting a shot to go up, you're not mentally getting ready to screen out. You're not mentally ready for it to come off the board. So I thought that, Stetson took some shots, some quick shots, and even some rush shots, but with that, and then also some of the threes, the longer rebounds and stuff. But yeah, we got to do a better job. We can't give up 15 offensive rebounds to a good team. It's just going to be a disaster if we do that. So I thought you made a great point there.
Yep. Cool. All right. Any other numbers, Jeff, you want to touch on today, or should we move on to our game ball and hardest worker awards?
Yeah, just real quick, make sure we mention again, 19 assists on 29 made buckets.
Yes. Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, with that, let's move on then to first game ball. And if you're watching on the YouTube feed, on the YouTube channel, you can see at the bottom of the screen there, the scroll, having our numbers so far to date. So, kind of indicative of what we are kind of seeing at different people stepping up throughout the year. So we have 3 people with 2 game balls with Garzon, Sarah Scalia, and Mackenzie Holmes, and Sydney Parrish has 1 game ball for the year. So, Jeff, why don't you go first? Who would you like to give your game ball to?
Yeah, there's a couple, three different ways I really kind of looked at this, but I'm going to come back to the player that we just were talking about in Mackenzie Holmes. 17 points in 19 minutes. As you said, Kathy, a very efficient 7 of 9, 3 of 4 at the line. Yes, she only had the 3 rebounds, but other than Sydney, nobody was real, and Lily, and Lily had 7, but nobody was really, dominating glass numbers today outside of Sydney, really. So so I'm going to go with Mackenzie here in the 19 minutes, 17 points. Just such an efficient. And again, I really felt like we got her going early, and that made a difference.
Yeah. I actually agree with you. I think, honorable mention to Yarden. But I agree. Mac for the game ball, especially, taking over the most made field goals in women's history. It's kind of hard not to give it to her, but I thought she was really on point today too, as well. And defensively, she got another couple blocks as well. So moving up the charts, on that category as well. But I thought, what was nice to see is that at the beginning of the game, I thought she was kind of waiting a little bit. And when that, ball got down into her and waiting just a little bit too long, but she corrected that again throughout the game. And I felt like I noticed she was either passing right back out pretty quickly or turning to the basket and being a little more aggressive and not really letting that double team come and, make their presence felt, if you will. So I really thought that she made some nice adjustments.
And her 2 misses, I think, were both jump shots, but I like seeing her shoot that jump shot a little more. See because if she hits a couple of those, she's going to pull people away, and it's going to be harder to double team her in that situation. So I like the fact she was shooting those shots. They just didn't go down today.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will give Mackenzie then her 3rd game ball for the year. Well, let's move on now to the Grace Berger Hardest Worker Award. So again, we've had a number of players get this award. So Lexi Bargesser and Mackenzie Holmes both have 2. Lene Beaumont, Lily Meister, and Sydney Parrish each have 1. And Jeff, same thing here. I think you have quite a list of people we could probably pick from for hardest workers. So let's see how we go. We've already got some votes coming in the chat, but where do you go?
Yeah, again, I kind of highlighted mine. I think gave mine away a little bit earlier. And again, I'm with you. There are several people, and that's always the nice thing about the Hardest Worker Award, to be able to have this, ability to have several. But I'm going to go with Sydney Parrish here. Again, 8 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 24 minutes. And more than anything, just because I felt like that Sydney really showed an effort on the glass, especially in the second half, when we really, again, we had a lead, but those first couple of possessions, even the second half, we were right back into giving them up 2 or 3, offensive rebounds, like boom, boom, boom. So I thought Sydney doing the job on the glass. That's what tips it over for me. But I know there was more than just one person today that could get the Hardest Worker Award.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go with here. I'd like to give a shout out at this point as well to Chloe Moore McNeil. I mentioned her, earlier in the game with her 6 assists. I thought she was just really good at sharing the ball today and not being selfish and looking for that extra pass. I also think you could look at Lexi Bargesser. I think the reason I ended up not wanting to vote for her is because of the 4 turnovers. Just got a little sloppy with that ball. But on the defensive end, especially, I thought Lexi was just really giving us great minutes and great numbers. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you with Sydney because, I've been kind of harping about rebounding all day today. And she led the team in rebounding and had 10 and almost, 1 basket away from a double-double. So for me, I agree with you. I think Sydney deserves that hardest worker. So that will give her 2nd Hardest Worker Award for the year.
And let's also mention real quick. Let's also kind of honorable mention here. Lily Meister. Lily Meister only had 4 points, but she had she had 7 rebounds, an assist, and 2 blocks. So again, we know that Lily's, in 20 minutes. And I told my son today that, in a year or so, we're going to be talking about Lily, I think, as a Big Ten, an all Big Ten type player. She may not be an All-American, but she's going to be a very, very good center for this team when she finally has that, that chance to get the minutes that Mac gets. But we know why Mac gets them and not Lily. So a little shout out here to Lily real quick, because I thought she played pretty well today.
Yeah, absolutely. Quang in the chat says we are just sharing the sugar for our awards. So I agree. Yes. So lots of honorable mentions today. It was a good game all around. So before we kind of leave our number segment, a couple people have asked that I continue to give our Mac Watch update. So I'll do that at this point here as well. So Mackenzie today with her 17 points, 7 field goals, 3 rebounds, and then 2 block shots. Those are the 4 categories we're been watching. We already talked about field goals made, that she is now the number 1 there. She is moving up on the total points. So for those wondering, she needs to average 17.3 points today per game to be able to get a chance at tying Tyra Buss or surpassing her. And so far this year, she's a point ahead of that average at 18 points per game. With her rebound, she's now got a total of 825. So we'll keep an eye on that. She probably can move up to take over maybe number 6 on that list, but right now she's number 7. And then blocked shots, she's got 221 blocked shots for her career, and that takes her. She's already in number 2 position, but she has to get to around 269 block shots to take over first place there. So quite a bit to go. So about 48 block shots. So she's a little behind pace there. But that is our update on the Mackenzie watch part. Any other player that there's probably actually, Jeff, let me pause. We haven't talked about Sarah today.
No.
What kind of thoughts do you have on Sarah and her play for us today? She played 21 minutes for us, had 10 points. She did have 5 rebounds, but no assists. She did have 3 steals as well. But what were your overall thoughts on Sarah?
I think it's also one of those where you kind of get caught sometimes looking and being like, wow, Sarah didn't play a good game today because, it wasn't what we've gotten used to again of 17, 18, 25 points, but if you look, it was a solid game. It was, 3 for 6 from the field, 2 of 4 on 3, 2 of 2 at the line. As you said, the 5 rebounds and 3 steals. But there were times though, I felt like I didn't, as you're watching the game, sometimes as a fan, you kind of look back and be like, when did Sarah get those points? I mean, I know she did, but it was like kind of like she was just in the, she was not the focal point today. And that's okay. That's fine. But she just, they're kind of, I kind of look back on now and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, Sarah had a solid day, but it just seemed to go in the flow. And sometimes that's fine. You need those days too.
Yeah, I do too. And 10 points and only 20 minutes, she only played half the game. And it wasn't because she had poor play. I thought her defense in particular was pretty much on point today as well. And then maybe the last person we should talk about is Yarden. I thought she came out and had some really nice minutes in the first half, especially. With 14 points she ended up with, but she had some really nice, plays defensively. I thought that she was really right there too. And also 4 assists for her. So that, I thought Yarden had a really great game today too. So we didn't really talk much about her, but any other thoughts on her?
See, I felt like Yarden was kind of invisible through the first part of the game. And, she got going a little bit in the second quarter. She hit the 1-3 in the first quarter, but other than that, I didn't really feel like she had done much. And so, but again, that's the thing you could say about everybody today. I mean, that's why it was so hard to pick a game ball and a hustle award, because everybody just had a solid game, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, that's a solid day. You'll take, as a coach, we always told kids, get us crooked numbers, put up crooked numbers in the stat sheet, put up crooked numbers on the scoreboard. They were doing that, but it's just, so that's why, again, on a normal day, we might've been talking about Yarden as a possible game ball or hardest worker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, I just want to go back to Sarah too, as well as, and talk about and with that, but also I think it talks back to the numbers that we didn't play anybody huge minutes, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we would hope. We were hoping for from this game for sure. But Jeff, anything else you want to highlight to cover this game, or should we talk about what's kind of coming up next?
I'm good. I thought we played well against Stetson, and we've covered most of the things I wanted to cover.
Yep, same for me. All right. Well, we'll talk about what's next, and then I'll get your final thoughts. So in terms of what's next for us, we are actually going to have a preview podcast on Wednesday to talk about the next game, which is Rutgers. So the women will play Rutgers on Saturday, December 9th. So they have almost a full week off. That game will be on regular Big Ten Network this time. It will tip off at 4 Eastern and 3 Central. We'll have a podcast after that game as well. Actually, not directly after that game. We'll be doing that podcast on Sunday. But for us, we will be doing another podcast on Wednesday night highlighting that. So normally here's where we would talk about the upcoming opponent, but come tune into us Wednesday night and we'll talk about Rutgers on Wednesday. But Jeff, what are your final thoughts for today before we wrap everything up?
Just again, a solid win. Like Beck points out in the Workaholics. I'm glad to have you, Beck, in the Workaholics here. Quiet contributions are important. And today was just a team win. Like we said earlier, 10 players with 10 minutes or more. We had 3 players in double figures. We had a number of people we could have talked about, a handful of people, I should put it that way, that we could have talked about for the game ball and or the hardest worker. So it was a very good day coming off of a performance that probably wasn't our best performance on Thursday in Maine, but you certainly felt a whole lot better about today's performance. And as we head into Rutgers, it makes me wonder, Kathy, a little bit with that week off. Makes me wonder, is it finals week?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering, if maybe finals are this week and that's why they've got the week off before they play again.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, because I don't know that the men have a game either this week. So
after Tuesday, I don't think. Yeah, after Tuesday, no.
Yep. So they play Tuesday, and then they're off as well until Saturday. So, all right.
Oh, forgot.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's next. Again, I already mentioned Jeff and I will be on Wednesday night. We are going to preview Rutgers. We'll probably also just talk at a high level about overarching themes that we're maybe seeing from the team so far this year around things that are good, things that are positive, things that maybe need to be still worked on, and those types of things, as we're now roughly about a quarter or so of our way through the schedule. Again, the women play Rutgers on Saturday. We will not do a podcast directly after that, but we will go on Sunday at around 6 Eastern, 5 Central. Jeff and I both live in Central Time, so that's why we are always adding the Central Time in so we remember what time we're going. So we will do a Rutgers post-game show the day after. And then if you also are on the men's side, Assembly Call will be on tomorrow to preview the Michigan game with a special guest, Ant Wright. And then they will have a post-game show Tuesday night after the men's Michigan game. But if you want to see us do the show live and be part of our live chat, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find that at youtube.com/@ with the @ Back Home Network. You can be part of our private community as well. Find out more about that at assemblycall.substack.com. A special thanks to John Ringer of Riggs Design for designing all of our logos that you see either in their Substack or anywhere that you're finding us. He designed us all of that stuff. So thanks to John. We've had some music that you've heard throughout the show. That's from Bob Thompson. So thank you to him. And most of all, thank you for all of you listening live or after the fact. And we will be back with you again on Wednesday to talk IU hoops. Until then, keep your elbow in, your eyes on the rim, and let's go Hoosiers. Well, that was fun. Much better game today. I like that a lot more. Even though I know they won, it just didn't feel like it was quite as positive on Thursday after that main game. So it was nice to see that.
No, we had some fans that were like men's fans. It was like meltdown day, after a poor performance. I was like, oh my goodness. But no, I got a feeling that Teri, Coach Moren had a discussion with them on Friday when they got back, and because I didn't see the press conference. I didn't watch it, but I saw the quotes out of it. And they all acted like it was no big deal. They felt like that, they thought Maine would give them a tough game and they weren't concerned about how they played. Now that could be coach speak in a press conference and the players know enough to say that basically the same thing. But fair enough. If she, because again, we talked about this in the preview. Maine has been in the American East Conference Championship game like 5 years in a row. So they've been on the verge of going to the tournament as, on a regular basis, because the American East is only going to get one bid. Whoever wins the tournament, their league tournament is going to get the bid. So with that, but I just got a feeling that there was a little bit of a discussion on Friday when they came back in for the film, the practice, whatever, but we got to play a little more urgency. We got to play with and that's the phrase I always use with my teams when I felt like we were lethargic. You have to play with a sense of urgency. You have to play like, there is no tomorrow, even though we know there is, but you just, you got to play like every game could be your last one. That's what, and I think that may have been some of the message. Hey, Kathy, I'm going to throw one here to you. I know you were hosting it, but I'm going to throw one to you. And I know this is a IU women's basketball podcast, but in the news today, what'd you think of the college football playoff?
Oh my gosh. All I'll say about it is I'm glad that it's going to be more than 4 teams next year and get expanded, because I just hate when it feels to me they're putting Alabama in because it's Alabama.
That's the SEC.
Yeah, in the SEC, right? Yeah, like
totally.
I don't know. I struggle with it when Sean read off the 4 teams that they put in there, and they put Alabama in there anyway. And they leave out an undefeated Florida State team. I just think that's it's really sad. So no, how about you? What do you think of it?
I felt like Florida State should have got an opportunity. To me, I understand the kid's hurt, but they're 13-0. They won the league. They that to me is better than a one-loss champion. And so like you said, I'll be glad when it goes to 12, but you know what we'll have next year? This will be like the NCAA tournament, where you're arguing about the 69th and 70th team, and next year we'll be arguing about the 13th and 14th team. So
this year we're going to bitch about the 5th place team. Next year it'll be the 13th place team. Right. And if they expand it beyond that, I'll keep going. But it's always going to feel like somebody's left out. But this one just feels egregious to me again.
I would have liked to seen them, and I didn't see the ESPN show today. I got a little bit on Twitter, and Danny told me about it because we were trying to do some things around the house. But I would have liked to have asked that committee chair, if Florida State's quarterback was healthy, they're in.
Put him in.
Who wouldn't have got in? Texas or Alabama? Basically, who did you protect by using the injury as an excuse?
Yeah, that's
which of the big name brands in college football got benefit of the doubt, and they were able to use a quarterback injury as an excuse. So anyway, hey, I will let you go so you can enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I want to thanks to all the workaholics out there.
Thanks, everyone. Sounds good, Jeff. We'll talk to you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.